All right, guys. Let's talk Reaper talk. Now, hopefully, let's do some chatting. How about that? Let's get this locked on me here. Boom. All right. Reaper talk, of course. So, just in case anybody hears anything, there is construction going on outside. They've been off and on. I've been trying to pick a good time, but whatever. They're doing what they do. So, Reaper, version 1, version 2, version 3, what's it all mean? I'm here to talk to you about it. Let's do that. This is mine. We'll get more into it later on, as you guys can see. Actually, we'll talk about it first. SCX10 transmission, forward motor flip from us, CMS, custom-made parts, a little piece of plastic to mount the battery on, the link risers you guys see here mounted in the rear, shock hoops, obviously. This one is a straight axle design. That's back when the Reaper was first developed. This is an OG. You know, this doesn't even have a forward motor mount set up in it, or the spot to even mount it. So, guys, know that the Reaper has been out for a very long time. I wouldn't say very long, but it's been out for a long time. It's podium proven. It's been on a podium all over the world. And when I say the world, I do mean that. Anywhere from Ohio to Japan to Norway. It's been on the podiums everywhere and anywhere. But enough of that. Let's get to the chassis talk itself. Get a little dirt off there. You can tell she's been used. Here is the Reaper chassis. We're going to call it the V2. Excuse me, I'm going to get a drink of water. You could really call it the V3 if you'd like. So the original version of this chassis that I showed you on mine, it did not come with these humps right here. You guys see these? My humps. But it did not come with the forward motor mount hump setup, okay? That allows you to bolt the forward motor mount from Team Garage Hack in it, all right? So everyone asked for a forward motor mount setup for the Reaper. We knew Team Garage Hack's forward motor mount was awesome. It was being used everywhere. It still is to this day. It's a killer product. It's butter smooth. So we're like, why wouldn't we do that? So we designed it to run that. And then later on down the road, we did a little bit more upgrading. Didn't really do a different launch of anything. We didn't need to do a version 3. All we did, guys, really, when you look at it, a new Reaper chassis, you see a little less holes here because all those really weren't needed. Not everybody was using, obviously, all of where they needed to be. This is the most desired place that everyone said that they run. So we dropped it down to a smaller number of holes, a little bit more material here chassis wide, and then through here a little bit harder bit or less hard of bends, and then up in the front, guys, we just kept it one same thickness as material. The originals had a little bit thinner here, then it humped up for where the CMS bolts to, or the panhard mount bolts to, and then went it back down. So I just kept it the same thickness all the way across. Makes a very uniform looking chassis, and it's been flawless, to be honest with you guys. I could not ask for a better reputation of a competition chassis as what I get out of the Reaper. And like I said, it's been around for years. It's been podium proven, and that's all you can ask for when designing a product. So when you get this? What is it used for? Why would you build the Reaper? What's the benefits of it? That ordeal. This is going to be your Sorka Class 2, Class 3, and then your Sorka Light Class 2, 5, and Class 3, guys. And the reason for that mainly is a carbon material as a chassis, and then the angled breakover in the center section itself. The Reaper does give you a 12-degree breakover in the center of the skid section. And as we all know, and you can even tell from looking, it's a very low-slung chassis. There's not big arches in the chassis here, for the reason I wanted to bring everything down as low as possible, even when you're mounting inside the chassis. Great idea, makes it super capable, but also has its repercussions of making it very tight up in the front, guys. So once you mount a CMS in there, all your links, the forward motor mount, the dry shaft, and all that, it gets very, very tight up in the front. Can it be done? Absolutely. There's thousands of them built around the world, okay? So with that being said, let's dive into how we would start our Reaper. So you're going to get your 4 shock hoops in your kit. You're going to get your 2 rear link risers on the chassis side, okay, guys? And what these do, you will bolt them here like this. They will end up being straight up once you line the holes. This allows a little bit more link geometry and options in the back side of the chassis for different setups. If you're running portals and then you're running a link riser on the portal, this allows you to get your geometry where you might want it per your build, per your driving style, all that. Now, let's touch a note on the low center and gravity subject of builds. Do you call it an LCG chassis? Sure, absolutely. It's going to lower your center of gravity. That's what it's designed to do. Is your build going to be the lowest it can possibly be once you build it? I don't know. That is up to you, okay? Now, if you build this chassis, it's built to be a lightweight rig. If you're using carbon, you're trying to be under that 5.8 pound, 6 pound mark. You're trying to be south of that. Don't go to the 9 pound, 10 pound mark. Add brass galore everywhere. Everything needs to be brass. The weight needs to be down, blah, blah, blah. My best advice that I give to everybody that builds with one of our chassis, guys, build it as light as possible at the beginning. You can add weight where it needs to be at the end after tuning, okay? Remember that. Tuning is your friend. Is it quick? No, it is not. It takes a long time to tune a rig perfectly. It's not going to be a bolt it and go, oh, it's the best in the world, blah, blah, blah. That's not what anything should be. It just doesn't work like that, okay? Everybody drives different. Everybody wants to use the different products. Everybody wants to set something somewhere out different than everyone else. Cool. That's why we're here. That's what Corruptcarbonworks is about. We don't make a chassis that you just put together and then your brother has one that's just like it, his buddy has one that's just like it. You all go out and you run the same rock, you pull the same line. Oh, look, we all can do that. Why is that fun? That's not fun. No. You build your chassis. You put what parts you want in it. You build it to how you are because it's your truck. It's not Joe's. It's not Tim's. It's not everybody's truck. It's not the same truck. I like to call those Legos, and we aren't building Legos here. All right? So, once you've got your parts, hopefully you've done your research. If you are building a center transmission style setup, 4-link center transmission, you're not worried about scale points, or, I mean, it's a lot of people even run it that way with scale points. Make sure you mind your width, okay? So if you're putting a center skid in here, those are all 70. Here you go. If you're putting a center skid in here, and you're going to run a center transmission, guys, remember, you have to fit a motor in there, okay? So I always highly suggest 78 millimeter wide center skid. And if you're going to run anything, obviously from us, we always suggest running our skids because they're designed for our chassis, and the Reaper has its own style skids. 78 millimeter wide skid, angled. You want to purchase the angled. And the reason for that is, you can see it in the camera right there, it does have a recessed pocket that is set at the proper angle, 12 degrees, to bring your drivetrain back up to level once it's installed, okay? So what that's going to do is not going to put your drive shafts in a bind. It's not going to put anything in a pinch. It's going to make the truck be very smooth too when you think about it. If your drive shafts are set at weird, crazy angles, the rotation is not going to be as smooth. It's not going to be under pressure as easy. When it's under tension, it's not going to rotate as easy, that type deal. So remember, SCX10 or per your transmission skid, 78 millimeters wide, and make sure it's the angled version. If we don't make a skid for it, for that transmission that you're wanting to use, let us know. We'll try to give you a gist of what you could use or what route to take, vice versa. These are all of ours are made from Fish's Crawler parts. They're the top of the line, best printed stuff you can possibly buy, guaranteed, no doubt at all. Okay, these things are rock solid. You're not going to break them. I personally have sold thousands of these and never, ever have seen one break. Okay, so just a rundown of your most popular transmission. Oh, gosh, sorry. If you're running these skids, remember the wide part goes up front. Okay, front of the chassis, the widest part, the skinny part towards the rear. Reason for that, that's going to give you your link clearance for your motor and everything like that, whether it's center or forward motor mount setup. So popular transmissions, your hamburgers and your cheeseburgers, we have a skid for that. Your 78 millimeter angled hamburger skid, that will do both the ham and the cheese. The Team Garage Hack 2-low transmission, that I would suggest, and I tell everybody, let me see here where it's at. There it is, right here. This is Team Garage Hack's, well, you might not be able to see it with the glare. Team Garage Hack's adapter piece for the 2-low transmission. Come on, camera. And, wow, okay, it doesn't want to focus. Sorry, guys. But, adapter piece for the 2-low transmission. This bolts to the bottom of it, and then it gives you the 4 holes here. Let's see if it'll get to my hand, possibly. There we go. So once it's bolted to the skid or to the transmission between the 2 holes here, and then it gives you the 4 holes for the SCX10 transmission bolt pattern, which would be this skid here. So 2-low transmission, adapter plate, SCX10 78 millimeters wide skid plate. That would be for your 2-low. Now, if you're running something else like the Salinas, the Team Garage Hack T210, I believe that has an SCX10 bolt pattern too also. I'm not 100% sure. Don't quote me on it. Look on their website. I don't stock the 210s, but we might get some in here shortly. But they'll usually tell you, or if not, shoot them a message. Hey, what's the bolt pattern on the bottom of the skid? Is it SCX10? If it is, you're good. We've got it. If not, let me know. We'll try to figure it out and go that route for you. Okay? So center skid, transmission setup, 4-link is typical with that. And like I said, pick your skid from our website depending on what transmission you're running. All right? So we've got that. Now the big question. Who is going to run a forward motor mount in their Reaper? This one was not designed to run it at the original, so it's not now, but just about 3/4 to maybe half of them purchased now do run the forward motor mount. So it was designed for the Team Garage Hack forward motor mount. Here you go. You see it. It's paired great with a Creeper T case. You guys see it here. Both amazing, beautiful products made from our good friends over at Team Garage Hack. Aluminum here, our aluminum piece, hardened outputs. Again, aluminum CNC machined outputs are very nice. I'm not 100% sure on the material of the outputs, but they could tell you. I'm sure we have it actually listed on the website also. Sorry, I just off the top of my head I don't remember. But if you're going to run this setup, guys, don't forget that the forward motor mount and the T-case both need to be mirrored. Austin, what's that mean? I got you. Let me tell you. This is how you're going to receive it in the package. You're going to want to take these bolts out, and then you want to make sure that this output is the opposite side this way. So when bolted into the chassis itself, guys, the threaded portion of the output needs to be pointed forward and with the angles facing this way. Okay, I know that's probably a little hard to see, and the reason for that is, hopefully you'll be able to see this on the camera, once it's bolted into the chassis the correct way, remember this output will be coming forward. This here is the front of the chassis. The bottom hole underneath this slot right here, the bottom hole, you guys can see right there, is going to be the bottom hole right here on the forward motor mount. Hopefully you can see that. And reason for that, guys, is once it's mounted in the chassis like this, the bottom hole will be stationary. The top hole can pivot in that slot. Okay? And the benefit to that is, this is where the motor goes. You're able to rock it up or slide it up like this through that slot, and it allows your motor to come up to give you your clearance underneath your forward motor mount for your links. Okay, so bolt the bottom in, leave it a little loose, and then adjust your top where you need to be. I typically give it a good flex on the one side to see where this needs to be, and then tighten it up. All right, again, this will be out front this way. And then talking about the mirroring of the Creeper T is going to be the same version. So this will be mounted into the chassis like this. But just know that these outputs need to come to this side. This output needs to come to this side. So if we are in a mirrored format, like we should be, this will mount like this over here. This will mount here, this side forward. These outputs need to come to this side. This output needs to come to this side, guys, okay? And the reason for that is you'll want your outputs, your center to go to here, the center, this to go to your forward axle, and then this one to go to your rear axle. So kind of what you would see like that, all right? Spur gear would go on the front. When talking about this, the spur gear, always suggest using their spur locker. Hopefully you guys can see that. Spur locker gear, or spur gear locker. And then we also have the Kimbrough spur gears in stock. I don't recommend going anything larger than these. This is an 87 tooth and 48 pitch, or a 54 tooth and 32 pitch, okay? I wouldn't recommend going larger than that because of dry shaft clearance and such. So you can go smaller. Just remember, guys, you need to gear towards that. If you're going smaller, make sure you're putting a smaller pinion in. You don't want to have the U4 wheel speed going on. I mean, you could. Some people like it, but then don't cry to me why your truck won't crawl, okay? But know that everything I'm mentioning here is available on our website underneath the brand section, and then the company that makes it. So Kimbrough will be under Kimbrough. Team Garage Hack parts will be under Team Garage Hack. Vice versa. The Fish's Crawler parts, skids, will be under Fish's Crawler parts. And I know it's a lot of parts, but guys, it's the only way for us to be able to try to have everything for everyone per whatever cool style they want to build. All right, that's the best way we could possibly. Everyone asks, well, why don't you make a kit? Well, not everybody wants to build the same way, and I don't encourage everybody to build the same way. It's your truck. Think outside the box. Build it the way you want, okay? So, forward motor mount and T-case, Team Garage Hack, make sure you mirror both of them. Great additions, spur locker, spur gears. You can run the Team Garage Hack forward motor mount, and you can run our T-case that we sell. This is the same style, Fish's Crawler Parts printed skid. It has no holes on the bottom, completely smooth. That's by design, to be slick. The outputs are 4140 hardened chromoly. The gears are a standard SCX 10-3 transfer case gears. This will give us a 26% underdrive to the rear, and then it comes pretty much with everything you need. It's going to come with the skid, the carbon plates, the 6 bearings, 2 standoffs, and all the hardware needed to bolt it together. It does bolt from the inside here. You guys can see inside the skid. So that's how we get away from no screws underneath, no bolts underneath, or no holes. And then you can run this also with the Team Garage Hack forward motor mount. The same way, off of the forward motor mount, center goes to center, forward goes to front axle, and then the rear comes off of the far side. It's the larger gear, and it gives you the 26% underdrive, okay? Just know that going in. If you've got overdrive gears in the front of your axle and you put this T-case in, you've got even 26% more overdrive to the front. So always keep that in mind, guys, when you're going to do things like that. This is available on the website. I believe this is actually in the chassis section and in our accessories section. It's our T-case combo. You'll want to get the 70 millimeter angled T-case setup, okay? 70 millimeters angled T-case setup. That's from us. Bolts in there. It looks beautiful. It runs butter smooth, and you almost had a little carbon come out. And it's ready to go and put together. When you do, it will come with a card that you can scan with your phone, or you can look up the video on YouTube. It does the same thing. When you scan it with your phone, it brings up the video from YouTube, or you can look on your laptop at Corruptcarbonworks on YouTube, and we have the Ninja build video on there, and that shows you how to build this T-case first, okay? So, other T-case setups, we're not really 100% sure on a whole bunch of them. I know Team Garage Hack makes another one called their OG. We make a skid for that also. Great setup. And then this skid is made at 67 millimeters wide, and I'm going to touch on the reason for that. So if you have the original OG style T-case, make sure you look that this is for that. It is angled, and it is for that, okay? But back to 67 millimeters wide. This is 67 millimeters wide. It's made at that width, okay, guys? If you're running a 70 millimeter wide skid, which was typical at the time, some people use spacers, some people pull the chassis to 67. Just know that if you pull the chassis to 67 in the front, which it will do even from a 70 millimeter skid, that's not an issue. I always suggest, if you're doing that and you're running a CMS in the front, shave the CMS to match it, okay, guys? Our CMS setup is made exactly from the same stuff our skid is. I mean, you're not going to break it. It's as thick as our skid. It is one stout setup. I will tell you guys how I do these. The center sections you don't need. They're made for being used on a different chassis. But just snip them off. Grab you a little pair of cutters like this. Run it right in the center. Snip it to be even with these lines here. And once you snip them off, throw them away, keep them. It doesn't really matter. When you bolt this to the chassis, guys, or, sorry, we'll continue on the subject we're on. Shave 1.5 millimeters off each side. and that will take you to a 67 millimeter width. And at that point, you're 67 millimeter square in the front of the chassis. You're 70 in the center. Could you do it with the skid? I mean, if you wanted to get down and dirty and do that, sure, you probably could. If you're running the Team Garage Check OG style T-case, this skid comes 67, so you would be 67 millimeter square down the whole way. Otherwise, you can be 70 in the center, 67 once you shave this down. I wouldn't suggest running this, pulling it in, and then pushing it back out to this. I personally always shave these down to 67 millimeters. That way I'm square up front. We didn't touch base on if you were running a center transmission and you wanted to go to 70 front and rear. You can. These chassis will taper. Okay, guys? So don't be alarmed. You can run a 78 millimeter center and then pull the front and rear into 70. That's not a problem. Okay? Good options there. Other T cases, like I said, I'm not 100% sure on. We'll try to figure it out with you. If somebody else has used it, hit up the fan page. I'm sure somebody's tried it. If they did, they'll give you hopefully some information on what they went through or what they did for that. And if not, let me know. We'll figure it out together. Let's see. What else we got? Braces. If you're going to use the braces that we sell, they're printed, same material as the skid and all that. They can be shaved. They can be cut to different lengths. Guys, when it comes to braces, remember, mind your widths. If you're 70 millimeters in the center, you're 67 front, you're 70 in the rear, in the inside of the chassis, remember that. 67, you can buy a 70, shave it down, bolt it up there. If you're 70 in the rear, 70 inside to inside chassis rails, you're good. You're good to go. If you're wanting to put them on the outside of the chassis in the shock hoop range, basically, just remember you're adding 6 millimeters, basically 3 millimeters per side of the chassis. So if your shock hoop is on the outside, just like that, remember you just added 3 millimeters width to the width per each side, so 6 total. So you would actually be 76 inside to inside shock hoop. A lot of people don't realize that, or it doesn't dawn on them when they build, and then all of a sudden they're wondering why their truck's driving funny, or it's not staying planted, or it's pulling weird to one side. Well, you've just taken the chassis and you've twisted it. You've literally, sorry, it would be the opposite way, but you've literally twisted it like this. So now you're pushing the bottoms out and you're pulling the tops in. Not what you want. Don't do it. Just highly suggest not to. So, back to the CMS also, now that we're on that subject too. Sorry, I'm kind of jumping here. CMS, once you've cut it, once you've shaved it, the rear hole of the CMS mount goes in. If you guys hear some noise, like I said, it's construction. The jackhammering is going on. So you guys see this slot right here in the chassis, hopefully? There's a slot right there. Sorry, had my finger behind it. That is the rear hole of the CMS that will bolt just like this. That is slotted, so when the CMS is bolted, you can push that all the way to the top, and your CMS is level in the chassis. Okay, so your servo is not sitting like this, and it's not sitting like this. It's sitting level in the chassis. So just know that's where the rear hole of the CMS is. And then when you're building your rig, so this would be the side for the panhard mount. Let me flip this around so it's a little better view for you guys. Let me get this one out of the way. Just know that your panhard mount, okay, let's make sure it's in the screen for you, can bolt either in the 2 slots and be moved, or it can bolt into this rear hole and that front slot there, or rear slot, depending on how you're looking at it, per your wheelbase, per your build. Okay, guys? So it can go either way. Don't be discouraged. Now, this panhard, you might have to space off the bottom, depending on your build. You might have to make a crazy link to make some clearance. Our link kits come with them, but, you know, it's builds are different. So you might have to get a little dirty. You might have to bend a link. You might have to add a different rod end. That's just the nature of the beast. It's a custom chassis. It's a custom build. That's just what happens, okay? When you're putting, say, a bolt into the panhard, and when you're putting a bolt, say, into the CMS, guys, please give some length. You know, put some bolt in there. Don't put one that just barely comes in and like that. It's not aluminum. It's not steel. It's not threaded like that. It's not how a printed part works unless it has an insert in it. And even then, I wouldn't do that because that's a ton of stress. So when you're doing the panhard, the link and all that, bring the bolt up as close as you can to this top hole. You know, obviously don't go into it because you're going to have another bolt there. But, you know, put some length in there. Have some strength. You know, that way it's a peace of mind. The same with the CMS. When you go through the chassis into here, you know, give me a 12 millimeter or 14 millimeter bolt. You know, put it in there to where there's some length and some grip holding that in, and then you'll never have to worry about it. I have never pulled that one out. I've never broke that one. I could not tell you how many tons and tons of tumbles and falls and through wooden ladders and, you know, everything it's been through. Never once had an issue, guys. And once you've snipped these off, now that we're talking about it and I looked at mine, you can add a nut on the inside between your servo and the chassis rail. One will fit. If you get to a point and you get discouraged and you just can't get it to work, take this back out, run your button heads on the inside of the chassis first to your panhard mount, and then put the nuts on the outside of the panhard mount. Okay, guys, there's room for that. It's not the easiest style setup, but it works. Typically, I have not seen anybody have any problems once they snip these off to be able to run a bolt through both of those spots and then a nut on the inside between the servo. So once you do that, your CMS is in. Now, sometimes you might have to space your servos up. You might have to do different things. It's per your build, per your axle, per your setup. So, you know, always think outside the box when it comes to that. And if you really get stuck and you can't think of a way out, post on the fan page. There's literally 3.5 thousand people on there, I believe, right now that are able to help. That hopefully someone's been in that same situation that can kind of get you a little advice, and then I'll chime in as much as I possibly can to help. And but I always suggest going to that page first because I'm not always available, possibly maybe when you are, and somebody else might be. So post on there, and hopefully someone chimes in and gets that figured out for you. Let's see what else we got. So link kits, we have them in stock on the website. This is Razor's Edge one, but this is the typical style of the link kits: bends, panhards, high clearance for the rear, straights for the front. And the reason for that, guys, is a straight link will give you a better transition from the axle to the peak of the skid than a high clearance would. It would kind of give you a drop point to be locked in to where a straight link will keep you gliding. So straight link to the front lowers, and then from the front lowers to the skid, and then skid to the back are high clearance. So once your front of your trucks come over that peak or that obstacle, that high center, and then the rear having the high clearance will allow the truck to stay low, stay planted, hopefully give you that good smooth transition over whatever obstacle you are, and keep you away from that gate, which is always what we're trying to do for you. But our kits are from In the Works RC. They come with your rod ends, your pivot balls. Most of these are made from 4mm titanium, and just a great high quality link set in stock for you guys. Most of the time, if there's a Ninja kit on there or vice versa, the Ninja is the same links as the Reaper. The Ninja has an extremely high bend, but I think we're just going to start carrying that for both the Ninja and the Reaper. They're just the same links to make it easier on everybody else. Those are set at a 12.5 wide wheelbase or length, not wide, 12.5 long wheelbase for people overseas. I don't know. You'll have to look at a conversion for that. Maybe 313. I'm not sure. If I remember correctly, I'm not 100% sure on that. But 12.5-inch wide or long wheelbase is typically what our links are set for the Reaper. There was a 12.3, but we tend to find out that most people liked it at a 12.5. So we'll have those for you. Body mounts, guys. We have our unicorn body mounts from Fish's Crawler Parts. If you've never used these, it acts as a brace, and then a stud comes up from the bottom here, all included up top. You cut it to length. You put one nut down. Body sits on top of that nut. You put another nut on top. It's easy to remove your body. It keeps it stationary. It keeps it tight so nothing moves. You're good to go on that aspect, okay? So those will be in stock. Again, mind your widths. It's just like a brace. If you're wanting to put these in the shock hoop area, know what you need per how you're building yours, okay? If you're building a custom chassis, never forget you need hardware. Corruptcarbonworks always likes to have K&K monster bags in stock for you, okay? They're in stock now. Hopefully they're in stock when you watch this video. Everything and anything you need, washers, lock nuts, button heads, hex heads, all in there for you per your build. You shouldn't have an issue with needing hardware with one of these. All right? With that being said, on the hardware subject, if you are not using great tools, get them. Why would you not? I know they're pricey. I hear it all the time. Why would I pay that for just RC tools, guys? It's going to save you so much headache. MIP has always been my go-to. Vanquish is another great product. Their handles are amazing. Their tips are good. You know, it's just like any other tool, though. If you over-torque them, they're going to break. I've seen people break MIP. I've seen people break Vanquish. Both are great tools. Make sure, I can't stress it enough, if you're going to use stainless or any RC screws or anything like that, make sure you have good tools, okay? It's just that much more pleasant to work with. Speaking of tools, Team Garage Hacks rod end tool. If you don't have it, get it. Build your links in 10 minutes or less. Put this in the drill, spin them on, spin them to the length you need. Guys, don't always go by the threads on the links themselves. You know, these guys pump these things out by the thousands, so you know sometimes the threads will go longer, sometimes they'll go shorter. We make a tool for that too. It's called the linky jig. You can bolt them in there to where you know your tools or your links are the exact same length once they're built. So grab one of those. Don't forget about that. And other than that, guys, we have all kinds of accessories on the website. But, you know, to recap on the Reaper, it's a Class 2, Class 2.5 Sorka Light, Class 3, both Sorka Light and Sorka. It's a phenomenal chassis. We've had it out for at least 2, I think close to more to 3 years. Like I said, it's been on podiums all around the world. If you have any questions, hit us up on that fan page, make a post, look through the builds. There is, I forgot to mention, there is pinned posts on our fan page at the top. If you click on one that says Reaper builds, Reaper V2 builds, there is a ton of comments on there of everyone that's built a Reaper that wanted to comment. Hopefully they commented on what they used. And then if you see somebody on there that has built their Reaper with some of the parts that say you want to use for your build, send them a message, chat with them. Hey, I want to use it. Did you run into any complications? Is there anything I should look out for? What do I need? Blah, blah, blah. That's why that page is there. If you can't get the information you need from that page, you're not looking hard enough. There's a search function. There's all of those pinned posts up at top with all the comments. If you didn't make a post, make a post. No one's going to yell at you. No one's going to be like, well, that's a stupid post. That's not that page. If it is, that person's gone. No questions asked. My team drivers and myself watch that page like a hawk. So if anything like that pops up, let us know. Tag an admin on it. Gone instantly. So, again, kind of do a little research before you start. Know what transmission or what forward motor mount or what T-case you want to use. The main thing I could try to tell everybody is figure out what axles to use first. Okay? Know what you want to use. If you want to use F10s, we have them in stock too on the website. Grab a set of F10s and say, Austin, I want to use F10s. I want the portals. I want the plastic housings. I want the clearance. What do I need to do to use that with the Reaper? My question to you is, are you wanting to run a center transmission or are you wanting to run a forward motor mount? And all of those questions should be able to be answered in this video, hopefully. But other than that, guys, like I said, if you have a question, I didn't answer it, let me know. Hit us up on the fan page, search, look through the builds. But other than that, guys, I can't thank you enough for the love and support you give for Corrupt. Hopefully these videos are helping you guys. And until the next one, we'll see you.